Hi, Alex here. If you have worked in sales, then you have probably faced some cases when an employee says and claims that they are in full control of the situation throughout the whole month, but at the end of the month, suddenly it turns out that the plan or the task was not fulfilled. The situation usually gets worsened by the fact that the employee themselves doesn't admit their faults or refers to unrealistic plans or some circumstances which prevented them from accomplishing the task. This problem may be present at all levels of corporate hierarchy, from regular salespeople to team leaders and even directors responsible for the results of a sales division. So, I myself have faced this situation so many times that I know firsthand how difficult it is to deal with this problem. This is especially true when an employee is on their probation, and for the business it's crucial to identify the mismatch between the requirements of the business and the competencies which this employee has as early as possible in order not to overpay the salary to someone who's not going to complete the probation period. In this video, I'm going to describe you the workflow methodology which I developed in order to be able to control the process of completing a task or a plan at any given moment of time. Let's start with something simple and logical. It's not possible to determine the degree of progress in task completion in case the task itself is not divided by subtasks and these subtasks are not distributed over a selected period of time. If you use this binary scale, which means completed or not completed, then in case of a poor performance of an employee, at any moment of time, when you just check the status, you'll be getting the same result. Not completed, not completed, not completed, up to the very deadline. So this doesn't give you the understanding of how far the employee is from completing the task or fulfilling the plan. Thus, you need to develop a scale of percentage of task completion, which is already there in case of a sales plan, and then match it to the scale of time available for completion. In case it's difficult for you to estimate the completion of the task in percentages, then you can just break the task down into key stages, and each of those stages will have its own deadline. This is called task decomposition, but I guess you're not here for such kind of advice, right? Let's talk about something more technological, which, among other things, allows you to avoid the objections of the employee regarding the incorrectness of the task. It's important to note here that usually this kind of work is conducted with low performance. So let's take as axiomatic the fact that there's still room for improvement in the results of the selected employee. As an example of a sales plan, let's take a notional amount of $100,000. Our first step is to determine from which sources we can find those clients to whom we can sell our notional product. Let's assume that there are three such sources. First, our current customers. Second, our former or inactive customers. And third, leads or new customers. Our second step is to determine the stages of conversion. For example, our first stage is reaching the customer. Second stage is conducting a consultation. And third stage is making a deal or closing. The next step is to estimate the amount of clients in each of those distinguished groups and then estimate the conversions. So let's say there are 30 current clients. From those 30 clients, you'll be able to reach only 20 of them. Then you'll be able to consult only 15. And with only 7 of those clients, you'll be able to close a deal. When planning, I recommend setting the minimum acceptable values for each of those conversion stages. The main condition is that the results of the employee should be increased at these values at least slightly compared to the current results. So, realism is one of the most important criteria for this planning. The fourth step is a meeting with the employee. During this meeting, you point out the sales plan and then ask the very same questions regarding each of clients' categories. Let's say you have 50 former clients. How many of them will you be able to reach? How many consultations will you conduct among those you reach? And then, how many deals are you expecting to close with those who you consulted? In this step lies the most important detail of this technique. Attention! If the employee calls lower figures than those which you came up with during your preliminary planning, then your goal is to discuss the figures of the employee and reasonably raise them to the level of your values. For instance, the employee states that they can reach 20 customers and they can make only 10 consultations out of those 20 calls, while your expectation is 15. So ask the employee a question: what is the reason for such a low forecast? Because sometimes it may be difficulties with telephony, and sometimes it may be related to the employee's own uncertainty, and this uncertainty should be handled as an objection. However, it's very often that the employee gives you even higher values than those which you estimated during your preliminary planning. For example, the employee says that out of 15 consultations, they're going to close 10 deals. In this case, my recommendation is to answer them. Do 7. And lower their figures for each stage of conversion with only one condition. Those figures should match your preliminary planned estimates. Once the planning is complete, sum up the number of expected deals for each customer group and then compare it to the plan. And if you see that your expectations are still higher than the plan, my recommendation is to lower them even further. For example, the employee expects to close 9 deals with existing customers, 7 deals with new customers, and 6 deals with former customers. The total is 22. You calculated that it's enough to have 20 deals to earn $100,000 of sales. Then you ask the employee, so you calculated that you need to close 22 deals. Is this plan realistic? When the employee answers that yes, the plan is realistic, you tell them, okay, so your plan is going to be 20. In case you close 22 deals, then I'm giving you the opportunity to earn even more by exceeding the plan. Once again, it's crucially important to be sure that 20 deals is enough to fulfill the plan and improve the current results of the employee. Also, it's important to get the confirmation from the employee that the task is realistic and achievable. This will help you a lot to avoid any kind of objections or excuses from the employee's side in case they fail to fulfill the plan. The next step for the sales team leader is to put tasks for the employee to work on each sources of clients and potential deals. My recommendation here is not to set tasks for several sources at the same time, because it's going to be difficult for you to control the progress and the quality of processing of each group of clients. If you realize that a list of 15 active clients requires 3 days to be fully processed, give your employee 5 days in case your business can afford that. And try to emphasize that during the conversation with the employee. So literally at every stage of the task placement process, your employee needs to understand that all the tasks are achievable and realistic, and your approach is very loyal towards them. But deadlines are mandatory, and intermediate goals during the process of working on the task are also mandatory for you to be able to control the progress. The conversions that you calculated earlier will serve as milestones. For instance, the employee has to conduct 30 consultations in 3 days. That means that after the first working day, they need to have at least 10 consultations conducted. If during the day you see that the pace of the employee is not satisfactory, you can always intervene in the workflow. The frequency of workflow monitoring depends on the level of professionalism and responsibility of the employee. For example, if the employee is experienced and responsible, then you need to supervise them once every few days. But if the employee is new or a low performer, then you need to get involved in their work on a daily basis. Anyway, this approach will allow you to compare the expected conversion with the real one at any point of time and find the lag if there's any. So if you know about the lag, if you know which source of clients brings you the deficit, then you may find the problem easier and it's going to be easier for you to resolve it. In this video, I have described only the main principles of the methodology I have developed. If you are interested in discussing the details or going deeper into the process, feel free to comment or private message me. Believe me, I have many more trump cards up my sleeve. Thanks for watching.